But my gut feeling, Mike, is I think Trump is going to win. And if he does, it'll come down to the fact that there are two big issues in America right now which dominate all the polls. When you ask Americans what they really care about, it's the cost of living crisis and it's the immigration crisis on the southern border.
This is a long way to go. It's early hours. The states that matter the most at this point are too early to call, but they, in the latest polls, were not trending in Donald Trump's favor. So let's stand by and see what happens.
I think there's questions already being asked about the quality of the data that the Kamala Harris campaign had, and that perhaps they were more optimistic than they should have been based on poor information on their own records.
Nothing is impossible in the age of Trump. Nothing is impossible in MAGA land, and we're going to fight to the bitter end.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have.
But my gut feeling, Mike, is I think Trump is going to win. And if he does, it'll come down to the fact that there are two big issues in America right now which dominate all the polls. When you ask Americans what they really care about, it's the cost of living crisis and it's the immigration crisis on the southern border, both of which have been a pretty big disaster under the Democrats for the last 4 years. And Kamala Harris hasn't even tried to chuck Joe Biden under the bus, as many might do in her position. She said, look, I wouldn't do anything differently. Well, nearly 10 million people have come in illegally on that southern border in 4 years. She was the border czar. So we think we have problems with this in the UK. It's nothing compared to what's happened in America. And I think that she will get punished in the ballot box for that failure. And then when it comes to cost of living, inflation is still raging in America. It may have come down from its high, but as you know, the definition of inflation is it's just prices going up. Until that is 0% inflation, the prices continue to go up and up and up. And the number of people who said to me, when I go to the grocery store and get a small bag of groceries and it's $60, $70, that is how I think many people may vote. So if Trump wins, it'll be those two things.
It does look very exciting down there in Florida. There's a lot of indicators. We know it's very early. We know it may be too early to call, but Pastor Mark there getting very, very excitable, saying they're already chanting 4 more years in Trump country.
Well, they can chant that, but as you may see from the electoral map, they are just winning states that they won in 2020. And as you know, in 2020, they lost the election substantially. This is a long way to go. It's early hours. The states that matter the most at this point are too early to call, but they, in the latest polls, were not trending in Donald Trump's favor. So let's stand by and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I suppose it was pretty close last time, wasn't it? I mean, it wasn't like they lost it by a large margin. And I mean, whatever happens this time, it looks as though American politics is so divided that maybe there never will be a large margin. Maybe it will always be now this time.
Well, that depends. I mean, we have this electoral college system, which is a 18th century archaic way of choosing a president through electors, as opposed to the Democratic popular vote. Donald Trump lost the popular vote by 7.5 million votes. He has never won the popular vote. Now, that's not the way our American system of elections happened. Right now, the states that matter the most, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, we just saw that the governor of North Carolina was just elected as a Democrat, beating him, his opponent, his very weird opponent, by as many as 15 points. So we'll see where this all falls out. But the states that are going to go blue are going to go blue. And the ones that are going to go red are all going red. But the ones that are red are generally the ones that have the least number of electoral college votes.
Have you seen anything encouraging for the Democrats so far tonight?
Yeah, particularly in Georgia. I was stumping in Georgia with National Security Leaders for America. And they're increasing their margins in the areas where Joe Biden did win. And you have to understand the state is changing slowly, but it was about get out the vote and turning out the vote. Same thing in Pennsylvania. I was in Philadelphia for the rally last night. 50,000 people in downtown Philadelphia sat around for six or more hours before Kamala Harris flew in from Pittsburgh. And the energy there is electric. If she turns out higher margins amongst women, amongst the young, she'll easily take Pennsylvania.
And what about the situation regarding people saying that she doesn't seem to have a policy sort of notebook, if you like? We don't know really what she stands for. We don't know really what she would do, certainly in international affairs, or really in a lot of domestic affairs.
Well, you know, I find that argument interesting because she has a massive policy platform. She's been speaking about it nonstop. Donald Trump has no platform other than, you know, get rid of illegal immigrants, which, of course, would be the largest massive roundup of people, sending them into concentration camps since World War II. This is ludicrous. It's that same ridiculous talking point.
Don't you think what you've just said is ludicrous? He's not putting them in concentration camps.
Absolutely not.
No,
that is on his platform.
I don't think it's a bit of a, hang on, don't you think it's a bit of an insult to say the words concentration camps, because everybody knows what that means. Everybody knows what a concentration camp is. There haven't been concentration camps in anywhere in the world apart from in China most recently, and during the Balkans War, when they used to lock people up and starve them. But proper concentration camps don't exist and would never exist in the United States.
Well, actually, proper concentration camps did exist in the United States in World War II when Japanese Americans were rounded up and held.
No, I'm not having that. No, they were not rounded up and gassed, were they?
No, no one said anything about gassing. They were rounded
well, that's
up
what happens in concentration camps. I mean, you're playing fast and loose with a very dangerous term.
Look, I'm an intelligence professional. I use terms which I know the meanings of, and in this particular
well, you might know the meaning of concentration camp. It doesn't sound like you do.
But if you want to take 20 million people, you want to intern them in some place which is guarded by armed forces and law enforcement in large concentrations of civilians, that's what you're going to get.
That's not that's a detention center.
You can't go around and say that the United States of America is going to use the armed forces, the police and law enforcement to set up checkpoints on roads and go around in the neighborhoods and forcibly displace 20 million illegal immigrants, including, I would certainly hope, the 50,000 Irish, 500,000 Europeans, and not say that this country's not going to be running a system like that. That is part of their platform. At the Republican National Convention, they held up signs about rounding up and mass deporting.
Yeah, because people don't like uncontrolled mass immigration. That's what they vote people like Donald Trump for.
If that's the case, then the United States would never collect.
You don't stop mass immigration by just letting people stay where they are, do you?
Look, this is a country made up of mass immigrants, including everyone that broke away from England. So you have to understand that this is not an American proposal in any way, shape, or form that anyone can respect. His people want that because he's demagogued on it. But for the rest of us who are in the United States,
but Malcolm, are you just not kind of illustrating the problem for the Democrats here? Because you're using language like calling, you know, Donald Trump a fascist, calling him Hitler. It doesn't work. People aren't buying that.
I am a Philadelphian. I grew up on the streets where the Declaration of Independence was written. I am steeped in American originalism, founding fathers' patriotism. I find his platform offensive and un-American, and it is fascist because he talks words.
It's not at all fascist. It's not. You must know that that's absolute rubbish. You must know that's rubbish.
It's not rubbish.
It's rhetoric.
His own words. Look, if this were Burundi, I would be using my same analysis on a presidential election. It's hard for you to deal with the terminology because you might have something invested in it, or this is the way you see it from that side of the Atlantic.
No,
I don't
see it from this side of the Atlantic. I don't see it from this side of the Atlantic at all.
This man uses terminology that espouses fascism, white supremacy, and dictatorship by his own words.
It's beginning to look like a pretty good night for, as you call him, the boss.
Yeah, look, I hate prognostications, predictions. Nobody's ever kept to them, but everybody's saying the same thing. We've got the TV results on a jumbotron inside the ballroom, and we'll just say this. The trend lines, Mike, are all going in the right direction. It looks as if even in urban centers controlled by the Democrats for decades, people are simply not excited to vote for Kamala Harris.
And we were just hearing from Jan Halper-Hayes there that, you know, the last boost perhaps that Donald Trump needed came from RFK. It may be that they went against, you know, the independents went against Kamala because she says nothing sensible, because she doesn't seem to know the answer to any question. She doesn't seem to answer any question. But would you agree that RFK's influence was significant?
It's beyond just Bobby Kennedy, Mike. I mean, think about this. In the last few months, who has come into the MAGA America First tent? You've got the scion of the Kennedys, the most famous Democrat family of the modern age. You've got Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat, outspoken member of the House who serves today in the U.S. Army Reserves. And then I was there in Butler a few weeks ago. You've got the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, jumping around the stage, then going on Joe Rogan 2 days ago saying, if we don't win this, we lose our freedoms and we lose America. If you want to talk about, you know, the hackneyed phrases of inclusivity and the Big Tent, guess where it is, Mike? It's on our side. You're not allowed to disagree with the Democrats. Remember, Biden said, if you're not voting for me, you ain't black. Just a few days ago, Obama caught behind stage saying, the brothers aren't voting for Kamala like they should. Nobody wants to hear from scolds. They want a tent where all patriots are welcome. It's like Brexit, Mike, right? Yeah. Brexit wasn't a Tory thing. It was a British thing. And that's what we're saying right here. And by the way, I just saw Nigel a few moments ago.
Good. Well, tell him, give him our best. He's supposed to be coming on with me in a minute. He's going to run out of time if he's not careful. But listen, he got a great tribute from Donald Trump the other day. And the thing is this, I've been talking to some really deranged Democrats tonight. I didn't mean to. I didn't know they were deranged until I started talking to them. They were talking about Donald Trump's a fascist. He's a misogynist. You know, he hates women. He triggers all women. They were saying that, you know, he's going to set up concentration camps for illegal aliens before he deports them. I mean, these people have lost their minds, haven't they? CNN are apparently absolutely apoplectic because they don't know what to do.
Mike, a few years ago, we used to call Trump derangement syndrome a joke.
Yeah.
It's not a joke anymore. It is a psychosis. When you call the man whose grandchildren are Jewish, who moved the embassy to Jerusalem, who was a steadfast supporter of Bibi Netanyahu, when you call him Hitler, you have no conscience, you have no soul. When you talk about the camps they're going to put Democrats into, Mike, we don't do camps, but guess what? My White House colleagues, Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, were locked up because they are conservatives. So, yes, the Democrats are right. There is a threat to democracy in our republic, but they are the threat to democracy in our republic, and that is why, God willing, they need to be trounced tonight.
And we're hearing already that there's a mass demonstration coming up somewhere in Chicago, somewhere in Seattle. Antifa, some are getting themselves warmed up because they're suddenly of the belief that Trump is going to win the election. We've also got supposedly people gathering in Times Square in New York City, Hamas supporting people who are anti-Israeli. They're not happy about it either. I'm just looking at what's going on with Harry Cole saying in New York from The Sun, basically total meltdown. CNN don't know what they're doing. They don't know what to do and they don't know what to say. Is there going to be peace in America if Trump wins?
It's funny. You know, I've been doing a lot of interviews with European news agencies and like you know, the Guardian, they always come up with the same question. What happens if your former boss loses? Is there going to be another January 6th? And I say, hang on a second. I'm not worried about, you know, 3 hours of rioting. I'm worried about if we, the patriots, win. Because I remember what BLM did to America. I remember Antifa, the $3 billion worth of damage, the 40 people killed. Mike, you've lived in America. If you don't believe me, that's fine. Fact check me. I live just outside the swamp. The last 4 days, what has been happening downtown D.C., the nation's capital, the businesses have been boarding up their windows. Not because of me, not because of red MAGA hat-wearing patriots, because of the lunatics of the left who have normalized violence. boarding up shops in the nation's capital if the American people choose President Trump for their leader again. That's just insanity.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Just one final word for you, Seb, because I know you've got a busy night ahead of you. Any news from Virginia? We're looking to see how that's going to go.
Well, I've been, checking in with my wife. My wife is the Republican chair for the biggest county in Virginia. Even if we don't win it, because there's so many bloody Democrat bureaucrats that moved into the North, we are giving them a run for their money. We're going to frighten them to within an inch of their lives in Virginia, and it shows the way. Nothing is impossible in the age of Trump. Nothing is impossible in MAGA land, and we're going to fight to the bitter end.
This is all based on, limited data, but the betting markets think that Trump has won.
Yep.
I think that a lot of the left privately think that Trump has won. Certainly the British left is absolutely losing their rag at this point as they contemplate the prospect of the return of the Donald. And New York Times, you say, they now have Trump at a sort of nearly 90% chance of victory. Now, Kamala Harris can still win, but that path to victory is increasingly narrow. She would have to take Pennsylvania, Michigan and Wisconsin, and we've only got sort of a proportion of the vote in those states, and Trump has got an advantage in all three.
Yeah.
So it's looking pretty bleak. The mood in Mar-a-Lago is obviously pretty jubilant.
Yeah.
We didn't manage to speak to Nigel Farage, who is at that kind of election night party, but we're
still
hoping
trying
to get to him later today. We did get Sebastian Gorka, who was pretty excited.
He looked very, very buoyant, didn't he, Sebastian?
Yeah, I think you've got to just imagine what these guys have been through over the last few years. I mean, some of them who were in the Trump inner circle have literally been to prison. They have been persecuted, they've been accused of all sorts of stuff, they've been convicted of things. Trump himself, continually described as a convicted felon. It is a remarkable, if there is a comeback, this is a remarkable turnaround.
Is that a good thing? I mean, I saw one Republican tweeting that, I voted for Trump, I campaigned for Trump, I love Trump. Didn't really think he was going to win, and almost like a big question mark, like, I quite liked the build-up, quite liked all the bit that went with it, but now he might have the big job.
Well, look, America has massive problems. That's not exactly a profound thing to say. I mean, whatever side of the voting you're on, I mean, most people probably agree that having some 10 million people pouring across the borders makes our own migration, illegal immigration crisis look quite poxy, doesn't it? So he's got some serious things to sort out, and he's made some very lavish and expansive promises, hasn't he? He's going to bring about world peace, no less. Literally
on day one
said that. So, well, if that's true, then we're all going to be happy.
Bring it on. Absolutely right. I mean, at the moment, if you were just sort of walking into a room, turning on your TV, watching us now, and you saw that figure, this is the college result so far: 207 Trump, 91 Harris, you'd look at that and go, well, it's job done, isn't it? End off.
But that's of course completely misleading, because it really all comes down to these 7 states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona and Nevada. And of those, Pennsylvania is the most critical one. And we've only really got a proportion of the figures for that one. But it's just looking a little bit hopeful for Trump there. What
do you think has happened here then? Because it was incredibly close in all the polling leading up to this. And I was just talking to a Democrat a moment ago, Bob Mulholland, about the press conference that Trump gave yesterday, where he's very downbeat in Florida. It almost looked as if somebody had given him some bad news before which maybe they did, I don't know. That's quite possible. But he didn't look buoyant. He didn't seem the confident, full of bluster Donald Trump. And bearing in mind at that stage, people could still go and vote. And there he was in the middle of the day, sounding pretty low-key. Well,
he's very superstitious. He doesn't like to, it would be a touch wood situation. He doesn't like to sort of preempt anything. I think there's questions already being asked about the quality of the data that the Kamala Harris campaign had, and that perhaps they were more optimistic than they should have been, based on poor information on their own records.
We've just heard from one of Kamala Harris's spokesmen, who said that she won't be making an appearance tonight. Well, it's this morning here, but it's still, 1:45 in the morning stateside. We won't be hearing from Harris tonight. Probably from where she's sitting at the moment, she's rather happy about that. So everyone's going home from Harris HQ, which is where they'd sort of gathered to perhaps get a glimpse of their girl, hoping that she can still do it. They're all legging it for the hills. Meanwhile, in Florida, it's a rather different story, where we understand Mr. Trump is making his way to West Palm Beach. There seemed to be a bit more of a buoyant atmosphere in Florida than there was at the Kamala Harris watch parties and various get-togethers that were going on. But, we await with bated breath as to where this story goes next. They're interesting that Donald Trump, it looks as if he's about to speak. Now, would this really be a victory speech? Is it too soon? But certainly the stage is set in West Palm Beach. The auto cue machinery is up and the security glass has been installed. Donald Trump has made his way there, and he's clearly going to address supporters in Palm Beach, regardless of what flavour of speech he gives. But he's there and he will be speaking shortly. You'll hear that live here on Talk. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has done no such thing. Her supporters have been told essentially to go home. And the Vice President, it appears, has gone to bed.
Very much. Wow. Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance, because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy? But it's a political victory that our country has never seen before, nothing like this. I want to thank the American people for the extraordinary honor of being elected your 47th president and your 45th president. And to every citizen, I will fight for you, for your family, and your future. Every single day, I will be fighting for you, and with every breath in my body, I will not rest until we have delivered the strong, safe, and prosperous America that our children deserve and that you deserve. This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to have. This is a magnificent victory for the American people that will allow us to make America great again. And in addition to having won the battleground states of North Carolina, I love these places, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, we are now winning in Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Alaska, which would result in us carrying at least 315 electoral votes. But it's much easier doing what the networks did or whoever called it, because there was no other path. There was no other path to victory. We also have won the popular vote. That was great. Very proud of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And, winning the popular vote was very nice, I will tell you. It's a great feeling of love. We have a great feeling of love in this very large room with unbelievable people standing by my side. These people have been incredible. They've made the journey with me, and we're going to make you very happy. We're going to make you very proud of your vote. I hope that you're going to be looking back someday and say that was one of the truly important moments of my life when I voted for this group of people beyond the president, this group of great people. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. And the Senate races in Montana, Nevada, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, were all won by the MAGA movement. They helped so much. And in those cases, every one of them, we worked with the senators. They were tough races, and I mean, the number of victories in the Senate was absolutely incredible. And we did tele-rallies. We did tele-rallies with each one of them. And sometimes we did 2 or 3 and it was amazing to look at all of those victories. Nobody expected that, nobody. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that. And you have some great senators and some great new senators. And it also looks like we'll be keeping control of the House of Representatives. And I want to thank Mike Johnson. I think he's doing a terrific job. Terrific job. I want to also thank my beautiful wife, Melania, First Lady. Who has the #1 best-selling book in the country. Can you believe that? Oh, no, she's done a great job, works very hard to help people. So I just want to thank her. But I want to thank my whole family, my amazing children, and they are amazing children. Now, we all think our children are amazing. Everybody here thinks their children are amazing, but that's a good thing when you think they are. But Don, Eric, Ivanka, Tiffany, Barron, Laura, Jared, Kimberly, Michael, thank you all. What a help. What a great. My father-in-law, Victor, is tremendous, and we miss very much Melania's mother, Amalia. We miss Amalia, don't we, huh? She would be very happy right now, standing on this stage. She'd be so proud. She was a great woman, that one. Beautiful inside and out. She was a great woman. I want to be the first to congratulate our great, now I can say, Vice President-elect of the United States, J.D. Vance. And his absolutely remarkable and beautiful wife, Usha Vance. And he's a feisty guy, isn't he? You know, I've said, go into the enemy camp. And you know, the enemy camp is certain networks. And a lot of people don't like to, sir, do I have to do that? He just goes, okay. Which one? CNN, MSDNC? He'll say, All right, thank you very much. He actually looks fun. He's like the only guy I've ever seen. He really looks forward to it, and then he just goes in and absolutely obliterates them.